Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. Observe, check out, and look over carefully or inspect. The customs agent examined the baggage. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Question or examine thoroughly and closely. Question closely. Make an effort or attempt. The infant had essayed a few wobbly steps. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. An analytic or interpretive literary composition. A tentative attempt. Provide evidence for. Cause to puff up with 11. Increase in volume. Be shown or be found to be. She proved to be right. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. Establish the validity of something, as by an example, explanation or experiment. Obtain probate of. Prove a will. Prove formally. Demonstrate by a mathematical, formal proof. Take a trial impression of. Trying something to find out about it. Any standardized procedure for measuring sensitivity or memory or intelligence or aptitude or personality, etc. The test was standardized on a large sample of students. A set of questions or exercises evaluating skill or knowledge. When the test was stolen, the professor had to make a new set of questions. Test or examine for the presence of disease or infection. Examine someone's knowledge of something. The teacher tests us every week. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. The act of testing something. The act of undergoing testing. He survived the great test of battle. Achieve a certain score or rating on a test. She tested high on the LSAT and was admitted to all the good law schools. A hard outer covering as of some amoebas and sea urchins. Determine the presence or properties of a substance. Show a certain characteristic when tested. He tested positive for HIV. Undergo a test. She doesn't test well. Melt, fat or lard, in order to separate out impurities. Try the yak butter. Test the limits of. You are trying my patience. Make an effort or attempt. Take a sample of. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. Put on a garment in order to see whether it fits and looks nice. Put on trial or hear a case and sit as the judge at the trial of. Earnest and conscientious activity intended to do or accomplish something. She gave it a good try. Examine or hear evidence or a case by judicial process. Give pain or trouble to. Take a sample of. Try something new, as in order to gain experience. Put to the test, as for its quality, or give experimental use to. Perform in order to get a role. Take charge of or deal with. Could you see about lunch? Make sense of. Assign a meaning to. What message do you see in this letter? Go to see a place, as for entertainment. We went to see the Eiffel Tower in the morning. See or watch. This program will be seen all over the world. Get to know or become aware of, usually accidentally. I see that you have been promoted. Date regularly. Have a steady relationship with. Did you know that she is seeing an older man? Find out, learn, or determine with certainty, usually by making an inquiry or other effort. I want to see whether she speaks French. Perceive or be contemporaneous with. You'll see a lot of cheating in this school. Undergo or live through a difficult experience. Be careful or certain to do something. Make certain of something. Come together. I'll probably see you at the meeting. Accompany or escort. I'll see you to the door. Perceive, an idea or situation, mentally. Now I see. Imagine. Conceive of. See in one's mind. I can't see him on horseback. Observe, check out, and look over carefully or inspect. I must see your passport before you can enter the country. Deem to be. I don't see the situation quite as negatively as you do. Deliberate or decide. Let's see, which movie should we see tonight? Go to see for a social visit. I went to see my friend Mary the other day. Go to see for professional or business reasons. You should see a lawyer. Match or meet. Observe as if with an eye. Perceive by sight or have the power to perceive by sight. You have to be a good observer to see all the details. Receive as a specified guest. The doctor will see you now. See and understand, have a good eye. The artist must first learn to see. The seat within a bishop's diocese where his cathedral is located. Subject to psychoanalytic treatment. Break down into components or essential features. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Make a mathematical, chemical, or grammatical analysis of. Break down into components or essential features. Subject to psychoanalytic treatment. I was analyzed in Vienna by a famous psychiatrist. Break down into components or essential features. Analyze today's financial market. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Analyze a sonnet by Shakespeare. Make a mathematical, chemical, or grammatical analysis of. Break down into components or essential features. Analyze a specimen. A large piece of fabric, usually canvas fabric, by means of which wind is used to propel a sailing vessel. A heavy, closely woven fabric, used for clothing or chairs or sails or tents. A tent made of canvas fabric. An oil painting on canvas fabric. An inquiry into public opinion conducted by interviewing a random sample of people. The setting for a narrative or fictional or dramatic account. The mat that forms the floor of the ring in which boxers or professional wrestlers compete. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. Get the opinions of people by asking specific questions. Solicit votes from potential voters in an electoral campaign. A branch of knowledge. Anthropology is the study of human beings. Give careful consideration to. Applying the mind to learning and understanding a subject, especially by reading. No schools offer graduate study in interior design. Attentive consideration and meditation. Preliminary drawing for later elaboration. Think intently and at length, as for spiritual purposes. He is meditating in his study. Learn by reading books. He is studying geology in his room. A detailed critical inspection. A written document describing the findings of some individual or group. This accords with the recent study by Hill and Dale. Be a student of a certain subject. Consider in detail and subject to an analysis in order to discover essential features or meaning. A composition intended to develop one aspect of the performer's technique. A study in spiccato bowing. A room used for reading and writing and studying. He knocked lightly on the closed door of the study. A state of deep mental absorption. She is in a deep study. Be a student. Follow a course of study. Be enrolled at an institute of learning. Someone who memorizes quickly and easily, as the lines for a part in a play. He is a quick study. An inquiry into unfamiliar or questionable activities. There was a congressional probe into the scandal. Examine physically with or as if with a probe. Probe an anthill. Question or examine thoroughly and closely. A flexible, slender surgical instrument with a blunt end that is used to explore wounds or body cavities. An exploratory action or expedition. An investigation conducted using a flexible surgical instrument to explore an injury or a body cavity. Judge tentatively or form an estimate of quantities or time. Pronounce judgment on. Form a critical opinion of. I cannot judge some works of modern art. An authority who is able to estimate worth or quality. Put on trial or hear a case and sit as the judge at the trial of. The judge tried both father and son in separate trials. A public official authorized to decide questions brought before a court of justice. Determine the result of a competition. Form a critical opinion of. How do you evaluate this grant proposal? Evaluate or estimate the nature, quality, ability, extent, or significance of. Form a critical opinion of. We shouldn't pass judgment on other people. Examine so as to determine accuracy, quality, or condition. Investigate scientifically. Investigate scientifically. Let's investigate the syntax of Chinese. Conduct an inquiry or investigation of. The district attorney's office investigated reports of possible irregularities. An instance of questioning. Pose a question. Uncertainty about the truth or factuality or existence of something. There is no question about the validity of the enterprise. A sentence of inquiry that asks for a reply. He asked a direct question. Challenge the accuracy, probity, or propriety of. We must question your judgment in this matter. Pose a series of questions to. The suspect was questioned by the police. A formal proposal for action made to a deliberative assembly for discussion and vote. She called for the question. Conduct an interview in television, newspaper, and radio reporting. The subject matter at issue. The question of disease merits serious discussion. An instance of questioning. There was a question about my training. Place in doubt or express doubtful speculation. Pose a question. An informal reference to a marriage proposal. He was ready to pop the question. Test something under the conditions under which it will actually be used. Check or regulate a scientific experiment by conducting a parallel experiment or comparing with another standard. To declare or affirm solemnly and formally as true. Attach or append a legal verification to a pleading or petition. Confirm the truth of. Please verify that the doors are closed. Handle and cause to function. Control the lever. Exercise authoritative control or power over. Control the budget. Lessen the intensity of. Temper. Hold in restraint. Hold or keep within limits. Control your anger. A standard against which other conditions can be compared in a scientific experiment. The control condition was inappropriate for the conclusions he wished to draw. Place under restrictions. Limit access to by law. This substance is controlled. Discipline in personal and social activities. She never lost control of herself. Be careful or certain to do something. Make certain of something. Control the quality of the product. Maintain influence over others or oneself, skillfully, usually to one's advantage. She is a very controlling mother and doesn't let her children grow up. The state that exists when one person or group has power over another. Check or regulate a scientific experiment by conducting a parallel experiment or comparing with another standard. Are you controlling for the temperature? Great skillfulness and knowledge of some subject or activity. A mechanism that controls the operation of a machine. The speed controller on his turntable was not working properly. Have a firm understanding or knowledge of, be on top of. Do you control these data? A relation of constraint of one entity, thing or person or group, by another. Measures for the control of disease. A spiritual agency that is assumed to assist the medium during a séance. Physiology, regulation or maintenance of a function or action or reflex, etc. The timing and control of his movements were unimpaired. Power to direct or determine. Under control. The activity of managing or exerting control over something. The control of the mob by the police was admirable. The economic policy of controlling or limiting or curbing prices or wages, etc. They wanted to repeal all the legislation that imposed economic controls. Verify by using a duplicate register for comparison. Control an account. An air-filled sac near the spinal column in many fishes that helps maintain buoyancy. Be in motion due to some air or water current. A hand tool with a flat face used for smoothing and finishing the surface of plaster or cement or stucco. Be afloat either on or below a liquid surface and not sink to the bottom. A drink with ice cream floating in it. Allow currencies to fluctuate. The government floated the ruble for a few months. An elaborate display mounted on a platform carried by a truck, or pulled by a truck, in a procession or parade. Circulate or discuss tentatively. Test the waters with. The Republicans are floating the idea of a tax reform. Convert from a fixed point notation to a floating point notation. Float data. Make the surface of level or smooth. Float the plaster. Move lightly, as if suspended. The dancer floated across the stage. Put into the water. Float a ship. Set afloat. He floated the logs down the river. Something that floats on the surface of water. The number of shares outstanding and available for trading by the public. The time interval between the deposit of a check in a bank and its payment. A radiogram made by exposing photographic film to X-rays, used in medical diagnosis. Electromagnetic radiation of short wavelength produced when high-speed electrons strike a solid target. Examine by taking X-rays. Take an X-ray of something or somebody. The doctor X-rayed my chest. Examine by auscultation. An examination and dissection of a dead body to determine cause of death or the changes produced by disease. Perform an autopsy on a dead body. Do a postmortem. The basic unit of luminous intensity adopted under the System A International do nights, equal to 1/60th of the luminous intensity per square centimeter of a black body radiating at the temperature of 2046 degrees Kelvin. Stick of wax with a wick in the middle. Examine eggs for freshness by holding them against a light. An appraisal of the state of affairs. A check on its dependability under stress. Be verified or confirmed. Pass inspection. These stories don't check. Make cracks or chinks in. The heat checked the paint. A mark left after a small piece has been chopped or broken off of something. Examine so as to determine accuracy, quality, or condition. Check the brakes. Develop a child's or animal's behavior by instruction and practice, especially to teach self-control. Become fractured. Break or crack on the surface only. Lessen the intensity of temper. Hold in restraint. Hold or keep within limits. The state of inactivity following an interruption. Held them in check. Find out, learn, or determine with certainty, usually by making an inquiry or other effort. Slow the growth or development of. A written order directing a bank to pay money. He paid all his bills by check. Be careful or certain to do something. Make certain of something. Mark into squares or draw squares on. Draw crossed lines on. Additional proof that something that was believed, some fact or hypothesis or theory, is correct. A mark indicating that something has been noted or completed, etc. As he called the roll, he put a check mark by each student's name. The act of inspecting or verifying. They made a check of their equipment. something immaterial that interferes with or delays action or progress. The bill in a restaurant. He asked the waiter for the check. Put a check mark on or near or next to. Please check each name on the list. Be compatible, similar or consistent, coincide in their characteristics. The handwriting checks with the signature on the check. Hold back, as of a danger or an enemy. Check the expansion or influence of. The act of restraining power or action or limiting excess. Abandon the intended prey, turn, and pursue an inferior prey. Arrest the motion of something abruptly. He checked the flow of water by shutting off the main valve. A textile pattern of squares or crossed lines, resembling a checkerboard. She wore a skirt with checks. Block or impede, a player from the opposing team, in ice hockey. Chess, a direct attack on an opponent's king. Consign for shipment on a vehicle. Check your luggage before boarding. Decline to initiate betting. Hand over something to somebody as for temporary safekeeping. Make an examination or investigation. Check into the rumor. Obstructing an opponent in ice hockey. Place into check. He checked my kings. Stop for a moment, as if out of uncertainty or caution. She checked for an instant and missed a step. Stop in a chase, especially when scent is lost. The dog checked. Verify by consulting a source or authority. Check the spelling of this word. Write out a check on a bank account. Examine hastily. Come to see in an official or professional capacity. Examine carefully for accuracy with the intent of verification. Look over carefully. Please inspect your father's will carefully. Take charge of or deal with. The general atmosphere of a place or situation and the effect that it has on people. Have faith or confidence in. Give a certain impression or have a certain outward aspect. This project looks fishy. Look forward to the probable occurrence of. She is looking to a promotion. The feelings expressed on a person's face. A look of triumph. Be oriented in a certain direction, often with respect to another reference point, be opposite to. The house looks north. Search or seek. We looked all day and finally found the child in the forest. The act of directing the eyes toward something and perceiving it visually. He went out to have a look. Accord in appearance with. You don't look your age. Convey by one's expression. She looked her devotion to me. Have a certain outward or facial expression. How does she look? Perceive with attention. Direct one's gaze towards. She looked over the expanse of land. Physical appearance. I don't like the looks of this place.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.